Good morning. Quite typically, for relatively new Japanese cars, the ninth generation Civic also has a problem with the quality of the paint. It is rather soft and scratches quickly. Those who are interested in buying a car in a non-metallic or black color should pay attention to this. In extreme cases, the paint may peel off. Sometimes you can encounter failures of the heating plates of the side mirrors. In addition, there are some minor quality issues in the interior. A cracking gearshift boot, creaking B-pillars, loose covers, or peeling door seals, usually due to catching them with shoes when getting in or out. Other problems in this section include occasional failures of the side airbag wiring harness, it was replaced under warranty, freezes in radios, a free software update at the authorized service center should help, and corrosion of the tailgate wiring harness contacts, resulting in the tailgate lights not working. In other words, nothing particularly serious or expensive to repair. There are basically only two potential problems. The first is the relatively low ground clearance of the car, which can cause problems, for example, after leaving a paved road. The second, and at the same time the only actual defect that can be described as repeatable here, is corrosion of the brake system, mainly the auxiliary brake mechanism. If you really wanted to find something else, you could possibly add knocking in the suspension caused by faulty stabilizer rubbers. Apart from that, no comments. The Civics offered on our market had three petrol engines available: 99 horsepower 1.3, commercial designation 1.4, 142 horsepower 1.8, and 310 horsepower, turbocharged 2.0 in the Type R version, factory designation FK2. The first two units are among the best on the market in terms of reliability. It is difficult to point out anything problematic here. The only thing mechanics pay attention to is the possible consumption of oil. It is a good idea to check its level regularly. The Type R also delivers. It does happen that it gets too hot during fast-track driving. This can result in the engine computer limiting power, or has problems with boost pressure. It's not so much a matter of the turbocharger itself, but of the pipe/hoses, but that's it. Of course, regular oil level checks are also welcome here. After all, enjoying performance has its rights. It's better to drive a car on the track with a full tank. Journalistic tests showed that fuel can flow out from under the pump during very fast or violent cornering. Although some people think that there is no point in adding LPG systems to 1.4 and 1.8 engines, they are quite economical anyway. Those who decide to do so must bear in mind the lack of a hydraulic valve clearance compensation system. In addition, these engines were originally filled with 0W20 oil, which is sometimes considered insufficient for operation on gas, among other things, due to the higher combustion temperature of the fuel-air mixture. Generally speaking, it can be done, but it is recommended to use the services of an LPG workshop that has already gasified Hondas and services cars with such systems. It is worth noting that the 1.4 and 2.0 turbo engines were available only in the hatchback. The 1.8 went to the hatchback, FK1, sedan, FB, and tourer version, i.e. station wagon, designated FK3. None, almost none. Although it depends on how you look at it. Recurring faults are rare and mainly concern accessories. In the Civic, we are talking primarily about the particulate filter, DPF. This note applies to both the older 150 HP 2.2 i-DTEC units, hatchback only from 2011 to 2013, it was not offered in Poland, and the 120 HP 1.6 i-DTEC diesels, hatchback and station wagon from 2013. When buying a used Civic with a diesel, we can expect a clogged filter. The solution is to replace it or pressure wash the ash. The worst news is the cost of potential repairs and ongoing maintenance, especially in the 2.2 engine. In sporadic cases, some people do not want to spend money on ongoing maintenance of Honda diesels, preferring instead to wait for a breakdown. For this reason, searching for a diesel Civic requires a bit more attention than in the case of versions 1.4 or 1.8. All versions offered in Europe were available as standard, with 6-speed manual gearboxes, with a 5-speed automatic available as an option for the 1.8 petrol engine. All of these gearboxes are Honda's own designs. Regular versions basically have no problems, and the biggest problem that owners of Civics with automatic transmissions, marked BRZA, have is the mileage after which the oil in the transmission should be changed. The manual provides for different intervals, from 40 to 120,000 kilometers, depending on various factors. For cars from and used in the old continent, many users assume that the appropriate interval for changing the oil in the transmission is 60,000 kilometers. An interesting fact is that automatic models may be a better choice for longer journeys, and not because you don't have to change gears yourself. The secret lies in the gear ratios. A standard manual 6 has such short ratios for higher gears that it forces the engine to work at higher revs. For example, at a speed of 100 kilometers per hour, the difference can be about 500 revolutions per minute when comparing the 6th gear in a manual gearbox to the 5th in an automatic. Problems with engaging individual gears are commonplace in the Type R version, factory designation FK2, which is largely due to the way these cars are used. If you happen to come across a car with a gearbox in good condition, it is worth remembering to drive it calmly for a few moments before driving faster, so that it has a chance to reach operating temperature before burning out. This is of course reflected in prices. The Honda Civic IX, which is basically fault-free, is one of the most expensive used cars in this segment, leaving aside the so-called premium class. Yes, the Type R is a bit more demanding, but still very good compared to the competition. But after all, someone considering buying a Type R will not buy the 1.8 or 1.6 ID-Tech version instead, or vice versa. But whatever you choose, you will most likely be able to forget about failures of a number of elements that you had no idea existed, and which the aforementioned premium cars often like to remind you about. Neither the 1.4, nor the 1.8, nor the 1.6 diesel will arouse any emotions, but at least it is a very good choice for someone who is not very interested in motoring and simply does not want to have problems. And if you know of any common errors, your comments are welcome.